The federal government is allaying fears that the third mainland bridge is not safe for motorists, and they give Nigerians the assurance that there is no cause for alarm. The Federal Minister of Works confirms that some expansion joints on the bridge are due and are already scheduled for repairs, but pose no danger to motorists, contrary to the impression created via social media posting.
Fast-paced cars, smooth traffic flow on a less busy third mainland bridge. But concerns have been raised on this major link between Lagos Island and the mainland, owing to this expansion joint which came to public light last week. Authorities say it's a bad joint due for repairs, but poses no structural danger to the bridge.
We discovered that this expansion joint here is already about 1 cm displacement. And what we normally have is that once we have 0.5 cm displacement, we recommend it for change. So this one is already above that critical level.
With a stretch of 11.8 kilometers, the Mainland Bridge has a very high vehicular movement. But this joint right here has caught the attention of Nigerians. But the Nigerian Institute of Engineers says there is no cause for alarm, but there's a need for scheduled maintenance.
Incidentally, I'm a regular user of this bridge. There's virtually no day that I don't fly this bridge. So I'm very much aware of what everybody's talking about. But looking at it from the engineering perspective, there is no problem whatsoever. The fear that people are entertaining emanates from the fact that because of the vibration they are feeling, and this as a result of the wearing off of the expansion joint.
The effect of cantilevered bridges are felt at the extreme end, and that is where those joints are seen to be movable. Although we know that it is because of the lack of maintenance that it is this obvious, but I'm sure that by the time the maintenance is done, this effect will not be felt anymore. It seems like in a 5-year, 4-year scheduled interval, there is need to do continuous maintenance on this expansion joint.
In August 2018, an investigative maintenance was conducted where the bridge shut down for 3 days. In March this year, underwater confirmatory tests were also carried out on the piles. From their assessment, authorities say the bridge users should go about their business without panic, but gives no word on the exact time the repairs will be carried out. Darido, Channels Television News.
We now continue with our coverage of the UEFA Champions League trophy tour to Nigeria, as led by the legendary footballer and 3-time Champions League winner Carlos Puyol. Tonight we bring you the highlights from 2 other scheduled events. The former Barcelona captain displayed the prestigious trophy at the live screening Champions League quarterfinals game in Lagos, and later partied with Nigerian celebrities in Lagos, southwest of Nigeria. We, however, must warn that this report contains flash photography.
The beauty of the Lagos skyline forms an apt background as football lovers, regardless of professional leanings, gather in Lagos, southwest Nigeria for this VVIP sporting event. It's the European Champions League football night, and the creme de la creme of the society, including the incoming governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, are here at the behest of the premium lager brand Heineken, official sponsors of the European Champions League. The night gets even brighter as legendary Barcelona captain and 3-time Champions League winner Carlos Puyol walks in with the coveted European trophy.
Also, thank you, all of you, for coming, and hope you enjoy the dinner and the match.
He later takes his seat beside Nigeria's football legend Austin J.J. Okocha as they settle for the day's business.
From a great player to a world-class player, he takes that touch, he takes it inside.
On screen was European Derby Day clash for two English teams, Manchester City and Tottenham Hotspur. A 7-goal thriller that captures the glory of the European football.
The idea of the VVIP was really to celebrate a special moment with our special stakeholders, with our great star Carlos Puyol, as well as our own homegrown biggest star on the Nigerian football platform, JJ Okocha.
The celebration continued on another level as Heineken hosted an after-party with some other top Nigerian celebrities in attendance, including 2010 Big Brother Nigeria winner and other housemates Uti Nwachukwu, Teddy A and Uriel.
You know, thinking about Nigeria and what makes us tick, Nigerians love football. It's a football nation. That's a fact. And Nigerians are very entertainment-themed people. We love entertainment. We love music, and we love movies and drama and whatnot. So it only makes sense for these two genres to mash up. You know, sports and entertainment.
UEFA Champions League tour to Nigeria is sponsored by Heineken.
Well, let's quickly shift our gears again for the second time to business news with Anwounder.
Thanks a lot, Gimba. Let's begin tonight with oil prices. They have surged more than 3% today after reports that the Trump administration will announce that all buyers of Iran oil must stop immediately or face sanctions. Benchmark crude oil futures traded at $74 a barrel in Asia today, while U.S. crude futures increased around 2.3% to $65.49 a barrel. Iran big oil buyers are China, India, Japan, South Korea, Italy, Greece, Turkey and Taiwan. The Washington Post reports that U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will announce the end of sanction waivers on Iran oil imports in May this year. Meanwhile, Brent crude prices have jumped more than 3 times this year, while U.S. crude has climbed more than 40%. And talking about oil prices, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries expects the Dangote Group refinery to reduce the need for full imports in West Africa. In the current edition of its World Oil Outlook, OPEC has estimated the refinery will produce about 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day. According to OPEC, there are 50 refining projects in Africa, which, if built, would add nearly 5 million barrels per day across Africa. The organization adds that this year's outlook shows notable reversal from the recent history, as for the first time in many years, projected firm additions stands at 1.1 million barrels per day, and that is exceeding regional demand growth for 2018 to 2023. The National Palm Produce Association of Nigeria is unhappy about the downward slide in the price of oil, and that's talking about palm oil, and local demand. That's in spite of the huge investments made by its members. In a letter tagged SOS to the federal government on legal entry of crude oil, crude palm, the group asks President Muhammadu Buhari to check the activities of smugglers. The association says the seamless corruption at the borders allows smuggled palm oil into the country at the detriment of huge local investment. This country is estimated to be losing more than $500 million worth of palm oil annually due to smuggling activities. That's business news tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwaudo. It's back to you, Gimba.
Let's get a wrap-up of the international news. Now, here is Simon.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. The bombings in Sri Lanka that killed at least 290 people were carried out with the support of an international network, that's according to officials. Another 500 people were injured in the suicide attacks on churches and hotels on Sunday. The government has blamed the little-known local jihadist group National Tawhid Jamath, although no one has yet admitted carrying out the attacks. The day after the attacks and the grim task of identifying the dead. Bodies covered in white blankets, hundreds of them. Police have arrested 24 people in connection with the blasts that caused so much carnage across the capital. Meanwhile, another huge explosion outside a church in the capital on Monday. This time as security forces tried to defuse a bomb inside a vehicle used by the attackers. It's not known if anyone was hurt. It's thought officials may have had prior intelligence about the attacks, information that wasn't acted upon.
Nearly 300 people have died. Over 500 people have been injured, severely injured. Some are disabled. So we are very, very sorry as a government, we have to say, and we have to apologize to the families and the other institutions about this incident.
At his Easter Monday address, the Pope condemned the attacks, expressing his spiritual closeness to the people of Sri Lanka. As investigations continue, families grieve, with ceremonies taking place for the hundreds who lost their lives in what is already the most devastating attack in recent memory. Ukraine's new president, the comedian Volodymyr Zelensky, has thanked his supporters, saying he would never let them down.
Зробили це разом.
The 41-year-old, who has no prior political experience, won a landslide victory in the country's presidential election, taking more than 73% of the vote. He had previously played the country's president on a TV show and was most famous for his work as a stand-up comic. Mr. Zelensky played heavily on the fact that he is just an ordinary Ukrainian to beat the incumbent Petro Poroshenko.
I liked it very much that finally, as Zelensky says himself, a man of the people has become our president. I can't say that I'm very emotional about it, but I like it that finally someone who is not a politician came into power. I liked it very much. Just as a person. As for super positive emotions, I noticed that people who voted for Zelensky are very happy.
Once again, everyone expects something new. New reforms, I would say, and to walk away from corruption and everything else that comes with it.
Sudan's military government has told protesters to take down their roadblocks in the capital. These were the scenes in the central square in Khartoum as thousands of demonstrators called for a civilian council to take power. Organisers say they've broken off contact with the ruling military council that replaced ousted leader Omar al-Bashir, accusing them of being part of the old regime. The military says it is committed to handing over power and will consider a joint military-civilian council. The number of people killed in a landslide in southwestern Colombia has risen to at least 17, that's according to officials. Rescue efforts are continuing in the town of Rosas in the Cauca region in the southwest of the country after torrential rains hit. Authorities say they are continuing to search the rubble for survivors. Landslides are common in the country, especially during the annual rainy season. A week on from the huge fire that gutted the Notre Dame in Paris, and people are returning to the streets around the famous cathedral. Police lifted the cordons from the surrounding roads to allow tourists back, and despite the vast damage done by the fire, people are still impressed by the 12th century structure.
Of course it is, yeah. When you look at it, it's I don't know, today, would it be possible to do something like this, some structure, especially what materials they used that time? I'm sure today it would be impossible or it would be too expensive, so no one would ever dare to do that. Yeah, so it's always magnificent to see something like this, yeah.
And finally, hundreds of people gathered in the Indian city of Mangalore this weekend to take part in an annual festival that involves throwing fire at each other. People at the religious ritual try to set each other on fire to appease the Hindu goddess Durga. Worshippers throw burning palm leaves during the 15-minute ritual. Organisers say any worshippers who suffer burns are immediately sprayed with holy water. And that is your international news around the world in 5.